Hi everyone, it's Judith Briles, and we're back for another episode. I'm going to be a soloist today. I've never done a show on this topic, but it's all about strategy for your author success. So we're going to be deep diving into that. I always want to thank the people who helped make this possible. Rebecca Finkel of F&P Design, who is just fabulous. You can find her. Her email is rebecca@fpgd.com. You can go to rebeccafinkel.com and check out her portfolio. Fabulous covers, great interior designs, and awesome swag for the author's success. And that is really what we're talking about today. My other sponsor is another designer who's been with me from the get-go for 8 years, Nick Zellinger of nzgraphics.com. And Nick is great to work with. And to get to him directly, it's Nick Zellinger, that's with one L. Zelinger at gmail.com. So highly recommend those two professionals who can just really make your book soar and sing and stand out above the crowd. All right, so since we're talking about author success, I randomly opened for my little book, Snappy, Sassy, Saucy Success for Authors, and I have a chapter called Success is a 7-letter word, which I think is always important to have. And so I just kind of randomly open it, and here we go. Publishing success doesn't come overnight. It comes from work, from planning, from learning, and from loving what you're doing. I call that perseverance. So this is a great little book. I just so would recommend it to you. And the other two books I'm going to recommend to you, if you don't have already, is the book I Wish I Had When I Started Writing. And I'm going to show you those really quickly. That's, first of all, it's The Author's Walk. This is a book, The Author's Walk, like that. The Author's Walk is all about not writing, not the craft. It's about getting your mojo, ignited and continuing it for your success. This is The Author's Walk. It is truly the book I wish I had 40 years ago when I started writing. The other baby is How to Avoid Book Publishing Blunders. And if you want to save thousands of dollars in mistakes that are going to come your way, and let me tell you, they will, this is the book you want. It's done in really, if you look at the format of it, it's done in really short, like here's 49. You get 2 pages. Next one is 50. Short tidbits and tips to keep you out of deep publishing doo-doo. And it will happen, I promise you. I wish I didn't have to promise you. Okay, so let's jump into what we're going to do today. I had started noodling this morning before I came on to put this all together. Of just putting together kind of who I am. Where am I today? I've been writing for several decades. Who I am. And I just, my producer Ben Smith said, Judith, you used a silver, marquee. And yeah, I did. I didn't use a black one, so forgive me. Anyway, so I just started writing out so you can see some of the things who I am. And I just started writing down keywords. What's my vision? What's my mission? What are my values? How would I personally measure what my success was? Not the outside world. What's inside for me? And then what's the outside world look like? And then do I have a motto? What kind of action I started? I even have, oh my gosh, spirit animal on my list. What are those critters? So let's just start there. What is your vision for yourself as an author, as a publisher, if you're going to publish your own works, or seeking out and having a relationship with a publisher? What vision do you have for who you are in that process? Where do you want to go? I mean, do you want to be the most sought after author in epic fantasy, for example? Or for me, it's more like I want to be someone who is recognized and sought after for giving practical publishing guidance. Now, people who know me, and a lot of you do if you've been with me over the years, I am blunt. So if you ask me what I think, I will say it. If you don't want my opinion, don't ask me. But I want to be a sought after individual, a publishing expert, a book coach, the book shepherd, someone who guides people with practical publishing advice and guidance. That's it. I want to show them how to create, how to develop, how to promote it, how to succeed in their marketing, whatever ties with what their vision is. What's yours? What's vision for your authoring, your writing, your genre, for where you want to go? Right? So if you're just kind of a hobbyist and want to dabble around, this is probably not going to make a lot of sense for you. But if you really have a desire to have success in your quotient, what's your vision? And author success, by the way, comes with having that vision, having the passion, and having the commitment. That's the triangle I look at all the time. Vision, passion, what's the driving force, and what's the commitment that will lift it and move it forward. What's yours? What's yours? Remember, commitment has time, it's got your energy, and it has some money behind it. It has some money behind it. All right. What's your vision? Second, okay, so do you have an overall mission about it? I've always been about, supplying information, about education, encouraging people to empower themselves and to take them a what in a way. I have my mission is to kind of break it down and get it into jargon and language when I'm trying to explain something, whether it's technology based, whether it's structural based, so they get it. And knowing that I may have to say it several times. May have to show it several times. There are times I will have my clients, a lot of times we can do things over Zoom, we can do over the phone. Rarely is it snail mail anymore, but it's in those ways, or it's in person. And when they come in person, they know they always bring their computer. And just last week, I restructured a client's computer to be organized that it is supporting her book and her mission. And we got it all together so she would have it and know where to go for and find it easily findable and not screw up and work on old stuff that we've already dealt with, because now there is an old folder that everything gets moved into it and we're only working on current. So my mission is to clarify, to educate, and certainly empower authors for their own success. What's yours? What kind of mission do you have? And for those of you who are writing in the nonfiction area, especially if it's kissing on the self-help, the how-to. Okay, so you're going to have in your mission the word education, to inform, to offer sage advice, but then you need to know who's the who you're reaching out to and go for that. All right. And then let's talk about, again, I'm just looking at my laundry list I put down for you, my values. So what kind of values do you bring to the party when you're writing for the Who? Maybe for you're working with a book club for the Who are the readers. Maybe for doing a presentation in a bookstore or in an event. Maybe just connecting, what are your values? So that, I always want to be able, speaking clarity, and knowing if I'm not, if we all have not great days, let's face it, but how do I prep myself up to bring myself up into that energy level I like to put out. Because I'm known as the Energizer Bunny around everybody. And I can run circles around people usually half my age. Where are you there? All right. So, do you want to? Part of my values is I have to keep learning. I do sign up to webinars and things like that to keep learning. I want to learn new tools. In my newsletter, one of my newsletters last week, I recommended BookBrush, which is a great website for authors. You should all know about bookbrush.com. And that I gave you a code, my name, Judith, and the number 15 to get 15% off whatever you sign up for. I don't get anything. It's just a good thing to do. My values is to give back. I believe in paying it forward, giving it back. It's strongly tied in with what I do. And, what can I do with my tools that I can give you some information really in a short period of time if I just meet you? That's just me. That's what I do. What's tied in with who you are? Who you are. And my values always at the top of the list is I keep on learning. I keep on learning in that. All right, let's talk about now. Now we're talking about accountability. How do you measure your success, who you are, what you want to be, where you go on that? What is your measurement? For me, reputation, how are you perceived out there? Are you knowledgeable? I mean, I certainly have a lot of this white hair and stuff. I never want to be perceived that I'm past my expiration date because I am not. But what do you do to make sure that you can keep measuring that? Okay, that's my learning thing that I'm always do. How can I execute it? How can I implement it? How can I test it out and then tell people about whether this works or not? That for me, getting referrals. That's part of my measure of success. People are happy with goes on. That I do a lot of giveaway stuff, but I'm running a business, so that means I have to have revenues coming in, right? That eventually, as an author, that you're going to have startup expenses. There's always startup expenses from the design, from the creation, to the for those of you in the United States, all of the countries are different with your taxing codes, but the IRS allows you, so many years to transition from the hobby into, yeah, you're really trying to do this kind of thing. Where are you on that? And I think for me, what's always important that I've just had a long-term employee leave me because she's moving across the world. But we'll still stay connected. So I don't have high turnover. I've never had high turnover people. I have someone who's worked for me for 30 years. So loyalty becomes a factor on that. So that's one of my measurements, that I have loyalty. Because if I get into a crunch or something, I know that I have a team of people that I can reach out to, whether it's my designers who have been with me for a long time, whether it's the people on my editing team who's been with me for a long time. There is not high turnover. And I think that's really important for all of us to think that we need consistency, but valued consistently, not because, well, it's just easier to do it this way. No, that they are worth their worth on that. And that I'm always, I always like kind of, what kind of goals I have. It could be because I'm a writer, like all of you. I'm always authoring. I have 2 books coming out in this year of 2026. My God, jump ahead, Judith. 2026. I have 2 books that are in the works that will now bring my published work up to number 49 and number 50. So, and that I have a goal for that is I need to have them, one of them, done by before summer kicks off. That's one of my goals. The other one, I can trickle a little bit into fall, but they will be done this year That's one of my measurements. What's yours? Think about what you're working on, what you're writing. It could be a marketing program. It could be maybe hitting #1 on Amazon, you know? That's always been a personal goal of mine to get up there and in the Kindle land to hit #1. And I can do that, and I do that for my clients. But what is it that you can do with all these other things in this process as you move along? That's what we're looking for in this process, and to make it work for you on that. So how do you measure your success? We will all be different. It could be just getting the book done, or it could be, if you're in the writing stage, to finish 3 chapters over the next month. And so when you talk to someone like me, and I said, totally doable. In fact, I'm someone who can write a chapter in a day when I'm in my binge, when I'm going into my myopic blinders are on. Bang, I can do that. And I do that with all my clients. We're going to have a writing session for 2 hours. We've started, and by gosh, we're going to finish this baby. So we do those kind of things. All right. So I think it's also somewhere on your list, you might have find either put down the word motivation or rewards. What can you dangle in front of you to keep you going on that? What is something? I have one book that I ate oh my God, I gained 10 pounds on it. A huge bag of M&Ms. That was my reward when I finished a chapter because I was on an M&M kick. But what is it? The motivation. It could be when I'm totally done, I am booking a cruise. When it's totally done, I'm just going to take a month off, not do any writing. I'm going to go hiking. I'm going to watch movies up the galore. I'm going to do all kinds of stuff. What will keep you going? What will keep you going? It's important to write that down. Right now, I have something that I wrote down on my list called priorities. And really, I think this is important for all of us to recognize. If your goal is to finish a book, if your goal is to market your book, if your goal is to fill in the blank, you know, where does that fit with living and breathing and eating and socializing and all the other things that we have to do? Because it may be, if the book is the big one of your big ones, this is where you need to let those close around you know this is important to you. I am motivated to get this done. So, unless it is so urgent that we need to go to do whatever it is, just be there to support me, encourage me, maybe even bring me over a bottle of wine. I don't know. But whatever it is, you need to let those around you know this is at the top of your list now. And this is what, don't distract. What you need is support. I just think that is so important to understand. Now, in your writing, you should have priorities too. For those of you who are writing nonfiction, you know, I always love to have my nonfiction authors have kind of a close up at each chapter, ahas, insights, key points. This is the things before you go to the next chapter. Let's go. Give me a paragraph. Give me some bullets. Give me something to chew on a little bit. Aha, I'm ready. Okay, I'm ready to leap to the next on that. So what do you want to do in your writing? Now, I have something I have done. You may think I'm silly. I have a spirit animal. I didn't know what my spirit animal was for a long time, but I'm surrounded by birds a lot. And I'm not talking about, the doves and the eagles and the hawks. And I have finches that surround me. I can look out, stand at my sliding glass door, and I look out, and there are finches almost like waiting for me to come out on the deck. I have a wreath by my front door. They have already built a nest to lay their set of eggs when they're ready to do that. And I love the yellow. I love the red-breasted. I love, all of them. But it was, I kept thinking, so, because I have friends who write, and spirit animals are really important to me. They really, go into this whole spiel about them. I have an eagle because I saw her as or I have the bear, or who knows. And I finally decided, I guess the bird must be mine. And it must be the finch. So I looked up, what's that all about? Well, here's what it says. The finch spirit animal symbolizes joy, high energy, adaptability, and the celebration of life's simple pleasures. Ta-da! That is me on that. So, I mean, I am positive. I will find the pony under the pile of manure. Freedom is real important. Flexibility is one of the type things. The vibrant colors that these birds bring to me, bring me joy. Joy is a real important word for me. That I actually have an app on my phone the Merlin app, that I can just turn it on and I hear them singing out there, and it'll tell me which kind of finch it is. Isn't that a kick on that? And finches are about harmony and all of that. And that for me, it also personal growth, which I'm a huge believer in. The person I was, and I'll bet you the person you were long ago is not the person you are today. If there's an evolution that we all go. I mean, to think that I was quiet, that I did not speak up for myself, that I actually was in an abused relationship. Stunning, for where I am today. So, what's your spirit animal? What kind of jumps out? So I just remember that. And so every day I have them. I mean, one morning I was out there and I thought, whoa, I have an orchestra around me. 8 different sounds from different types of finches were serenaded me. Cool is that? All right, so just a little insight here, sharing. All right, next up, I think it's very important to know what your strengths are. This is truthiness time. What are your strengths? And also, you need to be aware of what your weaknesses are. Okay, I'm very strategic. I can be task oriented. I am not afraid to stick my neck out and say what I think. I shared that earlier. I believe in connection. My friends are so important for me. My husband has advanced Alzheimer's. My community of friends is so important. All right. I want to be consistent with what I do. I feel giving, caring is at the top of my. What are your strengths? Write those down. As I go through this, I hope you're writing these things down. And then, do you have a motto? I do. I have two. Everyone who works with me, people who have listened to me when I do on the third Friday of every month, I have a live Zoom that you can come in and ask me questions at 3 o'clock Mountain Time. I'm in the Mountain Time Zone. At 3 o'clock on the third Friday of every month. And I have said it many times on my private coaching, many times. Two models. Don't do well what you have no business doing. It's so easy to get sucked into something you're really not, your energy should be going forward. And the second is, if you never say no, your yeses are worthless. And we have to be really careful with what we jump into. And this, by the way, is more for those of you who are women. Women are more inclined to say yes just to get rid of people, or just to get along, to belong when you shouldn't be. No is a very wonderful, powerful word. Just ask any 2-year-old. All right, with that, I think then the next thing that I do, now I'm going to jump into this one, okay, and then my producer's going to go, oh my God, Judith, where did you draw this one up on? So this is kind of a mini organizational chart. Okay, and mine is labeled my author success. My author success. And you see this, I have this little banner along here. And in that banner, this is what it says: branding, website, content. It's backwards. Marketing, so important. Always remember, 10% of your book success is just the writing, the awesome story, or all the sage advice. 90% is going to be the marketing. And sometimes we don't know which that does it, right? So we have marketing, moving along. Then I have a dollar sign. Okay, so how am I going to make money? And then where do I want to grow? And what are the others? So this is like a mini organizational chart. What are you doing with branding? What's going on with the website? What kind of content are you going to create for Van? What's your marketing? What about books? What kind of growth? Where do you want to go? And what else can come into the mix? All right. Now, with that said, we're going to do a jump because I have had charts. When I have done this before, this is so old, but this is one for, you can't see all this stuff. No, you really can't. Yeah, you can. See my scribbles? All my scribbles. I just start this chart going along, and this is where you just do brain dumping and you put it all out. So let's talk about that and put your areas. And here's the other. Here's the stuff that I would be having in. Okay, so what do I need to do across the web? And of course, when I started writing, there wasn't even a web. It didn't exist. I had my branding with newsletters. I sent out a couple of thousand snail mail a month, and they were very successful. That's how I built a speaking career that had me booked. Took me to, I typically spent 150 days out on the road speaking to people about my topics. I was a nonfiction writer about my topics to groups who bought my books. At least anywhere from a third to a half of the audience always bought at least one book at full price, paid on the spot. Never have to worry about a refunds. That was my model. You have to figure out what your model is on how you're going to move it out. And that's what's changed so dramatically over the years on that. Speaking is still the number one way, by the way, to sell books. So that should be in your marketing. All right, just saying. Right, so I would be looking at, what are you doing on the across the internet that would involve the branding. So that would be included in there. That would involve your books. That would involve any newsletter you would send out. That would involve your website. That would involve any of that kind of thing. And even events you host. There's always, like, my colors, you see behind me, we have green. I don't have purple on today. Well, I know, well, somewhere on me there's purple. But purple is always part of my life. I've loved purple since I was a kiddo on that. And it's, I've got a new watch coming in. I just got a whole new bunch of bands with purple on that. So what are you going to do? Because those are part of my events. It's part of my costuming when I'm out in the public. Right. Next up, I think you need to also, in another would be book launching. And here's one of the beauties today about authoring. In the old days, and I was with New York, 18 of my books that I published were with New York-based houses, that they kind of did everything back then. They don't do that now. And only for the big people, big celebrity people, like a John Grisham, a Michael Connelly, a David Podolsky, a Nora Ephraim, the big people. Okay, most of us are not big people. We're just us. And that, so you have to, the great news is because of the growth of the independent market, remember 4 million books were published in the year 2025. The growth of the independent market is you can do like a perpetual book launch. You can keep bringing it back. You could do a book launch on your ebook. You could do a book launch on your audiobook when you have them. You could do a book launch on your print book. If you do revisions, another book launch. If a few months have gone by, you could, do a pullout of some sort and just keep it fresh. Keep it going. There's great tools out here to support you in making that happen. Right, so meanwhile, now let's go into my little organizational chart, my spreadsheet. of what I'm looking for on this thing, and to keep it going with creating your core strategic focus for this year, for years going forward, and everything else. I mean, that's really what you're looking for, where you want to go, how you are going to handle it, and go through. So let's kind of start with that word called branding. I think it's essential for all of you to understand. I have one friend who loves wild colors. She must have a dozen pair of glasses, all in big different colors on that. I like to use these, this, almost a black, sometimes when I do my podcast, and that kind of, but normally I'll have purple glasses on. I even have a set of glasses that have my lime green and kind of fun, on them. But that's part of my branding. What's yours? So I think the visual for you as a person, as the author, as the presenter, sometimes the performer, but also the branding goes onto website. The branding goes on to how is there a look on your books? If you look at let me throw a huge author out at you, fiction author James Patterson. If you look at his branding, the name Patterson is huge, so huge. It's a big name, but you don't even care about the title sometimes. People are buying it on the name of the author. He's the brand. He's the brand. And they look at the book cover, and here's the little trick. Little book cover. I don't have that book cover, so they buy it. They could have changed the book cover. And they're new. Now he does a lot of co-branding. Patterson doesn't write his own books. Basically, at this point, he has all these co-writers that he pays quite well to do, whether it's the Women's Murder Club or any of those other things. But he's the brand. His name is the brand. If you want to start thinking and creating your name as the brand, let's lift it up, put it at the top, and start it that way. And doing that. I'm doing that certainly with mine, is going forward with it. So we've got branding down there. What do you do for your personal? What about it could be on your website, could be for your newsletter, could be for your blog. What about logo? Do you have one? Have you talked to your book designer? Usually they can whip those babies up very fast for you. There's a great site called brandcrowd.com that you can go and play around yourself if you'd like to on that. But how about a new logo on how you go about it? And that if you don't have, for example, if you want to think of that would be part of your marketing too, but where else? Think about all your social media platforms. I don't care if you're on Threads or X or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or fill in the blank. Is there a continuity to it? Is there a consistency dealing with your colors, your vibe, your logo? Do you have your tagline? Have you thought about creating a tagline? That's part of your brand. My tag, and it could be your motto. For me, creating practical publishing and guidance for authors. That's what I do. That's me. What's yours? Do you have it everywhere? So across this branding on your social media, do you have it underneath your name on those banners on all those social media sites so people know who you are or what you do on that? Do you have it on your email signature? Please tell me you have a customized email signature. Now, you could have several because you may have lots of different hats you wear, but do you have a customized email signature that when it goes out, besides having your website and your email, does it have a logo or an imagery on that? Mine includes copies of all my current books that when I'm in a bookstore, those bookstores will be there. Do that. I was honored to be named by the Best Book Group on all their awards as one of their author laureates last year. I actually have that on mine. What do you have? So branding is really important, and you want to think about it. Everything that you've got your fingers on, that you're reaching out, touching, that you show up on visibility, findability, your branding should be coming into place from colors and fonts and all those kind of things. All right, so branding. Next up on my list is always website. And I think one of the big mistakes so many of us make is we just let ourselves go stagnant here. Well, that doesn't make the Google gods and all the other browser gods happy. They're looking for updates and information. So what are you doing in there to change? Do you have something on your homepage that will just have a little goosey change every once in a while? I know on mine, because I blog twice a week on Tuesdays and Saturdays, that the image that goes with that blog will be showing up with the lead words of what it's about. So that will give you further ranking and viability. You also, and this is something that yours truly is doing, is really having someone, and I can't do it I don't have the bandwidth to do it myself. I have someone going through to check out what the metadata is on every page on my website. And that usually when you have a designer create a website for you, you did it yourself, most likely you had like standard keywords that went up there that you might use in hashtag for. So, publishing would be one of mine, authors would be one of them, writing, but there's so much more. And each page would be different on it. For example, I have a speaking tab on my website. And speaking, it could be speaking on publishing, speaking on book marketing, speaking on all of those would be separate parts of the metadata, right? What do you have? You need to make sure you do an update, in that part of the message on it. I have a video on every tab, welcoming them to that page. This is what they're going to find in this section. Videos are really important, super duper important. And I would encourage you on your website to have one on your homepage, welcoming visitors. And if you're offering a special goodie for free, for heaven's sakes, suggest it. And you may even, if wherever your video is going to be placed, and I think your freebie, what we call a lead magnet or an opt-in, should be in the upper right section, because most of your viewers, if your viewers are European and US, they're reading left to right. So you want them to go to that right area and have it. You could even point, make sure you grab this on it. But here's the thing. If you change that opt-in, which ideally you should do, that means you need to go, if you're describing what the opt-in is, you could give it a generic thing so you don't. You could say, don't forget to grab my freebie that will enhance your blah, blah, blah. And you'll find it, on this website in the section. Then you're safe. But if you're going to be very specific what it is, you're going to be forced to make any new video. Okay. Videos should be on my homepage on thebookshepherd.com. It's longer. And it is, but the other ones are much shorter. It's like, it could be 3 or 4 minutes. But the other ones are well less than a minute on that, in that area. So what else can you do? Do you have any social proof that you can add to your website, whether it's for speaking or about your books that you can do shout outs with? And that on my website, the Judith Briles books, that has all my books, and where I'm now going to be making videos, because that's my ad, that's what I'm on my to-do list to add, is that there is a shout out when you go into the books tab. On each one, we have some comments, maybe a quote from an Amazon quoter. There could be quotes from awards, judges have said about the book, on that, anything like that. So we're looking for kudos to add to your website that people do. And you might want to, so that would be, some of your proof that you bring into play, that you have. All right. So then you have, if you look at your content, all right, so your content will evolve around what's on your website. Remember, websites are for three things. Here we go. And some people disagree with me. One, it's to develop trust with whoever the visitor is. That if that whatever you have there is not um, AI produced or hallucinated. It's you. This is you and what you do. Two, it is and it gives content, updated information. Remember that was part of who I was. It's part of my values. Part of what I want to do is I always have information and I share them. All right. So that's that. And then the third is to collect emails. So make sure you have a mechanism on your website that they can collect emails so people can subscribe, whether it's to your newsletter, whether it's to your blog, to get your freebie, which is going to be the most logical place where they're going to get it. So content. So content is rich. You have to keep it ongoing. If you say I'm only going to put something up, and that's where my parting of that is the blogging. You only blog once a month, you will become invisible really quick. I think it's very important that whatever you're putting up on there in your content area, whether it includes your services, if you're a consultant, or in speaking, that there's some kind of a call to action. All right, so you have those things moving in there, but it's different announcements. I knew that one of my things when I started this podcast that it would be carried on. That it's part of the tab where you can find things. On the podcast is right up there that people can click into the latest podcast that we have. And then there's certainly the ability to get to the archives because there is a lot of them in the process. All right, next on my column is marketing. It should be huge on yours. What are you going to do? You're going to be, are you available to book clubs? You should have something on, and this will begin on your website. You drop down, have something that really absolutely they can find for book clubs. Maybe do a video talking to the book clubs. Maybe doing having how you're available. You're available in person within. Someone just put on theirs within the. They live in Wisconsin, but then they're close to Chicago. That whole corridor that they could go along. They're saying I'm available along this corridor. They were very specific how they said it, and also on Zoom on that. Now I will write like line for strings attached. It's saying I am glad to participate. In person if our location allows it, or on Zoom. But the string attached is everyone must have a copy of the book, either the print book or they bought the ebook or the audiobook. I mean, that's because just recently I was at my book club last night. And I said, you don't realize most of these authors who are published with New York that we're doing, they're only going to make a buck. A buck in royalties, a book. Surely the hours of pleasure you got from the book is worth more than a buck. Buy the book, But I have a tad of a bias here on this. If you have marketing, you could create a whole series for nonfiction. Those of you who are nonfiction, why not create your own YouTube channel? Definitely do that. Remember, on search engines, it's Google, it's YouTube, and it's Amazon. 1, 2, 3, and number 1 and number 2 coexist. They're a family because they're owned by Google, right? Or what is it? ABC, they call themselves. Alphabet. All right. So whatever it is, make sure that you do that and build it up and add to it. Sit down, look at you all have phones. Get it on, push that video. And the hot ones are the short reels that go. We're talking under 60 seconds. Can you do some quick tips or ahas or insights or throw out lines on some story that could pull and lure them in, get the rest of the story, that kind of thing on that, that you could put together. But YouTube is very important to your success. Some of you, it's going to be TikTok. Some of it's going to be Instagram. Some of it, LinkedIn for any business book. You got to have a LinkedIn. Think about creating a LinkedIn group on doing it and drive people. And remember, LinkedIn has an awesome ability that where you can Besides posting shorties, your quote images, whatever it is you do, you can take your entire blog and drop it in as an article, and bang, all your followers will know. How cool is that? Huge. It's huge. So what else can you do in marketing and Go, and all that? And remember, ebooks are big. People are reading. Audiobooks are growing. So you could do a whole campaign with like hashtag KDP Unlimited, hashtag Amazon, hashtag audiobook, anything like that to help drive, and also the outside, going along and drive people to see if you can be building up. Because remember, Amazon has the KENP, which means this is what people on Kindle are reading your page, and they get paid for. You could do a whole campaign directed to Kindle Unlimited, on it, and try to drive up. I have one of my clients has millions of pages read just via Kindle on that. So marketing is going to be just so essential. Your marketing, your position, express yourself, and whatever you put out. I think you need to understand you've got to do some separation. Stay away from politics unless you're writing political books, and any other the goodies that could get you into deep water on that. Stay focused. Your personal is your personal on social media. Your books are your book. You have separate pages for those things. That's where you stay consistent there, and it would be the smart thing to do on that. On that. If your marketing is part of your speaking, I think you should have a speaking tab on your website, but it's huge. So, is it public speaking? Is it private speaking? Is it for higher speaking? Where good is it a combination on it? And remember, you've got live streaming capabilities, that anything that you can do to support yourself. And the videos, coming back to that, are going to be just so critical and essential in building them up. So I know one of the things that I have promised my VA, one of my virtual assistants who handles that side of it, is I will have 50 new videos for you before May's over. Now, these are shorties. These are that 60-second or under, and these will go up. And also, Substack is a great way to think about doing another type of newsletter. You can duplicate what you do here because they're all different viewers. It opens up a whole new market for you, and drop in videos over there and get that going. So that will give you more of a mix and add to it, as you have those. So it's important. And for me, because I work with clients, I like to brag about my clients. I can shout out. I do it in my newsletter. I have a great relationship with Barnes and Noble. During these spring months, I have I have 7 signings. I live in Colorado, in Barnes and Noble stores. We sell a lot of books. We have a lot of fun. We have people who come back and see us. I gather their names. I let them know when I'm back in the store, get the next book. Sometimes I give free stuff to them. I do all kinds of stuff. So do things. It's all about building your fans. That's my opinion on that. That I would be, I don't put a lot of ads out. We're going to explore doing, looking at Instagram, LinkedIn, too. But, this could be a bottomless pit. You have to be very careful before you jump into that area. And I think that in all of these things, especially marketing, is we should have an area for, like, what can you improve on? Where are you lacking in going that? And for a lot of you, it would be the media. Last month I did a great podcast with Bob Sweeney, who runs a very successful weekly here in the metro area of Colorado. I have actually got full page coverage on events that I have done, or ideas I have done, or featuring my authors, all from building a relationship, but sending press releases. Never underestimate the value of a press release, which we have done several podcasts on that, but coming back with that. So that's where you are. So you want to look at, how you're going to go about it, and doing it. Now, I had $ on my column. So how are you going to monetize all this stuff? So that you say so, and it could be just for books. I want to see book sales increase, or it could be, I want to have direct events where people are buying directly from me. Like I sometimes do author teas. I've done them in my home. It gets more expensive because I'm putting out food. When you do those kind of events, food's involved, by the way. If you have a different site, you can limit the food and bring people there. But those are work. But so how can you monetize and bring in more money? And certainly increasing book sales. For me, it's always with services and consulting. But what else can you do? Is there any way that might be offering speaking? Have you looked at craft shows? We're coming into the summer months here now, that a lot of these events, including these outsourced markets, have tables that you could rent or share a table with an author who is not in your same genre. Please make sure you separate them, because you can play off of each other and support each other. And you can bring those out and bring them about. So I'm going to make that strong suggestion to you, on that too, to put that together so you can have that and it'll come. But that's a great way, and you can get in, right now. The first time that theirs is the month of May. Things are going to be booking all through September, even into October. Find out what's out there. Go to the browser, search your choice of browsers. What craft events, outdoor shows are going on in my area, in my state, in my region, and see what you can get on and see if that would be a work, because you'd be surprised. Now the 2 and 3 days are tough. A day is easy peasy, but see what you can do. And hey, I did a podcast on how to get your book in grocery stores. The Kroger family, whether it's Fry's, whether it's City Market, whether it's King Super, the authors grocery program is an amazing one to look at, where you can be in a grocery store and sell your book. You could sell 30 books within a couple of hours. The grocery store handles all the sales. You get paid within 10 days and you get 60%. That might be a market for you, as you go along. So figure out where you want to go in your sales and your packaging and all that. Now, a couple of other areas I know I'm getting close to the close, is just where do you want to grow? Probably online, probably in book sales, maybe adding someone to your team, anything like that. That's where this is at, as you put this all together for you, for your success. But you need a strategy. You need a plan. Authors don't make it. The overnight successes. I mean, I did a huge decluttering this spring, and I found a magazine I was looking for 10 years. 8 years prior to that, I had been featured in People magazine. There was a cover story on People magazine. And I knew I had a copy of it, but when we moved our whole household over a decade ago, all that stuff got boxed up. I found it. Um, and doing it. And internally, there was 4 pages on me. I've now got it to one of my trusted designers. We're going to get it all scanned nice, not instead of me doing DIY, doing it. And we're going to get it up on my website. We're going to add it to my book page, because that was something to shout about. And here's what's cool. It seeded a whole new novel idea. And I said, my God, my doctorate's in this work. I always had a title. I liked a 2-word title. I can put it together and do it. It's about strategy. It's about planning. It's about your author success. You are the driver. You're the captain of your own ship, your own boat. But start doing it. That's what will make it work on it. And it's work. Oh boy, do I know it's work. It's going to change. This is something I would come back and look at every year. With that said, I'm going to sign off. I'm Judith Briles. I'm your book shepherd. We'll see you next week.